Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times with Willy B, we'll be reviewing Civil War. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Fast Times! Welcome back to Fast Times with Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got the Russell Clifford Jones on the podcast. Russ, how we doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
For sure. It's about time. Everybody's been hearing your name every episode.
Yeah.
And I get to put a face to the man that made the intro. So, obviously, incredibly appreciative of you helping me with the sound and everything you do for me. So, I'm glad you could finally get on, man.
Me too.
So, today we'll be reviewing Civil War, the latest A24 film. Alex Garland in the director's chair. He's done movies, Ex Machina, Annihilation. Men was his most recent one. That one kind of a flop on the spectrum, but some good movies on his resume before this one. We have a cast that's recognizable. Kirsten Dunst, obviously, growing up with Spider-Man. We all know her as MJ, but she also has a great resume. A newer name, Wagner Moura. He played our main male character, Joel. Not really, I haven't seen him before this.
No.
But we get Kaylee Spaney, who for a minute was unrecognizable, but then came around and I realized, oh, that's Priscilla. And then obviously Nick Offerman was the president. We have Jesse Plemons, Steve McKinney Henderson. So a lot of recognizable names in this film. We'll hop straight into the good. Obviously, with this cast, you got good acting.
Yeah.
The acting was great.
Definitely.
I would say the thing that blew me away the most, though, and is my top good, is cinematography.
Absolutely. I thought it for a movie about, taking pictures, it was they nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a cool, so Jesse is, I think they said 23 years old, bursting onto the photography scene, and Kirsten Dunst is the veteran photographer. Mm-hmm. She's playing our main character, Lee, and they're a part of this press that's falling around the Civil War and taking photos. They're trying to get the shot and all of that. And it's a disturbing job.
Oh, yeah.
You're taking picture of war. You're taking picture of dead people, blood, guts, gore.
Yeah.
But our veteran photographer has really nice cameras, and Jesse's just starting out using her dad's camera. Mm-hmm. And they make a reference to it. Oh, you don't really see that camera around anymore. Right. It's cool because every time Lee takes a picture, Kirsten Dunst's character, it's in color. Mm-hmm. And then every time Jesse takes a picture, it's not in color. It's in black and white. And I thought that was a really cool way to separate the cameras and kind of not pay homage, but continue. You made a note to add that to the dialogue, and now you're seeing the connect there. Right. But even outside of just the photography and everything, I mean, we get a lot of pan-out shots of just the country. We get all of these shots of them driving through the highway with rundown cars and, dead bodies. And it's a disturbing thing, but it was very well done.
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to make a note that they said that Jessie was 23, but she looked like she was 16.
Yeah, she didn't look 23. I think in real life, Kaylee Spaney is 23 or 24. Yeah. So that's probably what they're going off of. But the way they styled her character definitely looked younger than 23.
Yeah, she was... had to be 16 to 18, and the things that she goes throughout this movie, I thought she did an excellent job at portraying a sort of loss of innocence.
Yeah.
And they were, I listened to the South by Southwest interviews with the cast as I was driving here from the theater, and they referenced Come and See. As one of the you must watch this movie before we start shooting.
Yeah.
And it totally, if you've seen Come and See, it totally makes sense that that they would want you to watch that movie before acting, because the similarities are very clear, and it was excellent
for sure.
portrayal.
I would say that she had the best character arc in the movie. Like you said, the loss of innocence. Yeah. You go from she sneaks her way into this voyage to Charlottesville, whereas the Western Front's headquarters, which is weird that's on the East Coast, but that's besides the point. she sneaks her way onto this voyage, and then the first kind of action she sees, it messes her up.
Yeah.
And then, you get to the end, and obviously we have a spoiler alert. You get to the end, and she's running into the war, taking these shots, gets a friend killed, and yeah, it's crazy how far her character evolves in just an hour and 45 minutes.
Absolutely.
But that was done really well. I think they wrote her character really well. I think the writing overall was done pretty good.
Yeah.
There are some nitpicky things, but we'll get to those later. As far as talking about scenes that stuck out, when you watch a trailer, you think Jesse Plemons is going to have a bigger role in this film.
Absolutely.
He didn't really have that big a role of film. He's probably 5-10 minutes of screen time
at most.
But his scene was impactful.
Oh, definitely.
It's a scene where him and another guy in the U.S. military, so they're not a part of, the people that have left America, but they kidnap Jesse and one of their other buddies that was in New York with them, and it leads to trying to get her back. They see this pit of dead bodies. They're both holding these guns, and they're asking, where's everybody from, to see if you're a real American. And it's just, the tension is top notch. You're on the edge of your seat. You're fearing that you're going to lose one of these characters that you've been following along with. And you do lose a couple of characters. Thankfully, at this point, it wasn't anybody as far as we thought.
Right.
And then down the road, we lose Sammy. But that scene alone, watching that scene, I mean, it almost brings a tear to your eye.
Yeah, The entire movie is very, very heavy.
Yeah.
And at no point, there are times where it's, there are comedic moments throughout the movie, but there is this overarching heaviness and darkness throughout the entire movie.
Sense of doom.
Yeah, it is it feels very, very real the entire time you're watching this. And that scene in particular, when you see those people get killed, you don't know what's going to happen next. Obviously, at this point in the movie, it feels like there's going to be more movie to be had.
Yeah.
So you're expecting none of the main characters to die off, but I think they did an excellent job at holding your anticipation and making you think that at any moment something could happen.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that was the whole... we can kind of jump to pacing, and for, when you get a war movie or historical epic or anything like that, the first thing that comes to mind on if they did it right was pacing. This was a very well-paced movie.
I agree.
I don't think there was ever a moment where I was like, okay, this is too slow. Now, where they're slow, you can't be balls to the walls for an hour and 49 minutes. But for the most part, there was always that feeling of like, okay, what's around the corner?
Yeah, exactly.
So they did a really good job with that. That goes back to the writing. You talked about a little bit the comedic relief. Not a lot, very limited, but when it was there, it was good.
Yeah.
I thought Joel was funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sammy kind of had a couple quips here and there. All in all, like, anytime that there was some comedic relief, you don't like it when it's too forced. I thought it all fit very well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of that comedy, like, we're in a shitty situation. Let's make the most of it,
Yeah, exactly.
So that was fun. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a situation that some fear isn't too far away. And so that it makes it that much more heavy. Yeah. You're already dealing with a heavy subject matter, but like you said, it feels real.
Oh, definitely.
So that's the scary part of this movie. I think they did it pretty well. More on the technical standpoint, special effects were great. Excellent. The gore was great. Makeup, everything like in that realm. I mean, if you didn't know this was a movie, you'd think you were watching like a documentary of a war.
Yeah, if they would have shot this movie on an iPhone, it would have scared the shit out of you.
Yeah, for sure. No, they did a really good job at, and when somebody gets shot, just kind of how, like, things would go, like the blood spewing out, and it's heavy.
Yes, there are very... what I appreciate about this movie is that it's extremely neutral, and that there are so many nuances to war, and they show a lot of what lies between either side. You know,
Yeah.
The first shot that Jesse takes and thinks that it's good is of a man who was just shot.
Yeah.
And
literally bleeding out.
Bleeding out, yeah. He was, and before he was shot, he was stuck in between a pillar, a firing match between both sides. And he finally, his side says, you know, you need to get your ass over here.
Yeah.
And he finally jumps out and is shot multiple times. And she takes that photograph, and pretty much each photograph that they take, there's a still shot where all of the sound, all of the music drops out, and it's just, they stay on that shot for a few seconds. And it just felt so real seeing that. I've started to feel like tears well up in my eyes.
For sure. No, it's, again, heavy is the best word to use for it. We sound like Marty McFly over here. Oh, Doc, this is heavy. Yeah. But it was, I mean, and it felt real. There were some aspects to it that you could say, okay, maybe that's not super realistic, and I'll kind of get those nitpicky in the meh, but for the most part, like, it instills a little bit of fear into you that this is never out of the picture.
Yeah. It cemented to me at least, it cemented the idea that war is an atrocity on all angles.
Yeah.
There is no one safe, and it's extremely unfortunate that we have, since what seems to be the dawn of humanity, been killing each other over what? Yeah.
What do they say? War, what's it good for?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Continue with the good. I wouldn't put all of the music in the good, but I'd definitely put the score. I thought the score was very impactful. I thought it fit whenever it came into fruition. But yeah, I mean, another element I liked about the story, I'll say this. So we're following them. They're part of the press team. I like how we kind of get to see them work with each force.
Yeah.
Like we see them work a little bit with, you know, some of the, what would you call them, rebels, I guess.
Right.
And then we get to see them work a little bit with the military, and then they're with the Western forces. So it was kind of cool to see them bounce around and you know, hey, we're the press.
Right.
Just take us under your wing.
And it seemed like either side was like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
None of this matters. We're out here in the dirt, bleeding out. Yeah. You know?
But
they were just there, you know?
Yeah. Did you have anything else you'd like to add in the good before we hop over?
Personally, I this might be a good segue, since you didn't like most, or at least some of the music.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed all of the music. I thought the majority of this movie, the actual musical tracks are all what sound like 60s, 70s, like psych rock.
Yeah.
And I think with this movie takes place in what seems like the middle of summer.
Yeah.
Right? I think that you can feel how hot this movie is. There's like sweat and dirt over everything. And I think that the psych rock perfectly conveys or intertwines with that, rather. And I think both of those things, the cinematography and the musical tracks, convey how wild and disgusting and how sweaty America,
swampy,
can be. Like,
for sure,
it's the perfect balance of how things seem so normal and uniform with the chaos of psych rock.
Psych rock. I love psych rock. Yeah. We'll hop over to the meh because you, like you said, it's a good segue. I put the commercialized music here, and it's not that I didn't like any of the music. I mean, they were all songs that I would jam out to myself.
Right.
it just felt like they broke up the movie a little bit for me, because a lot of them were on a more upbeat note, and then they would happen right after like a super sad or disturbing scene.
Right.
And to some people, that works. A lot of people. I mean, we had a group of 5 in the theater today. I think all 4 of you liked it. I was the only one. I was the oddball out. So for most people, like, you might enjoy it. Well, for me, I don't know. It just felt inappropriate, I guess is the word I would use.
I think that, I do recognize that in those moments, I wish I could have relished the anguish more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that they were trying to convey that none of this matters.
Yeah.
You know, this is war.
Yeah.
And there are no feelings. It is all just pushing lead.
Yeah. For sure. I don't know. I almost feel like if you flip-flop the music and the score, I would have liked it more. Like if it was like an impactful score after somebody gets shot and killed rather than somebody gets shot and killed and you start playing the ukulele. Or so, you know what I mean? Like if they're driving down the street and you're playing the music, I don't know. For me, it just felt like the timing of the music is what threw me off. Not to say that it was bad music or that it was, that's why I put it in the meh. Sure. It wasn't bad by any means, but for me, at moments, it didn't work.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's just my opinion. But continuing on with meh, I would say, like, the concept of the press being untouchable.
They did kind of make it seem like that, yeah.
Like, I feel like if we had a civil war in real life, most people would just be like, fuck the press.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would be like, oh, come on, you're the press, get under my arm.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. Like, it didn't matter who the force was. Yeah. Western forces, the U.S. military, the Florida Alliance, whoever they were with was tucking them under their wing like they were. And maybe it was something that was a law or something that we just didn't hear, but like it just seemed like the press was untouchable and protected at all costs, which is really weird because I know a lot of people don't like the press.
Yeah. Well, it's possible that they could have, the soldiers on either side could have been saying, well, if we get this out there, we can use this as some sort of propaganda.
Yeah, no publicity is bad publicity.
Or publicity in general, not propaganda. But yeah, I think that might have been because to be completely honest, I'm totally uncertain of how the laws of war work. And,
I mean, we start this movie and we're already in war, so we don't get like a backstory, which I know a few people we went with didn't like that. It didn't bother me either way. It almost leaves it to the imagination. It almost makes you think like, how would it happen now?
Yeah.
But it was just the press being under this umbrella of everybody was kind of not bad, but like I would say like unrealistic maybe.
Yeah.
Just it didn't. And the other thing I would put that I guess the knock would be unrealistic is the Allied forces we get. We get the Western forces are Texas and California, and I get that in the sense of war. If you're going for numbers, that's a good two to ally. But I just feel like maybe they weren't going off real life America, but the state we're in, I don't think California and Texas would really ally.
Right.
But I get it.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible in war, for sure. I get it. Like. In the sense of numbers, I mean, if you ally those two, you're wiping out everything west of Missouri easily.
There could be some sort of, like you said, there's a lot left to the imagination. They could have had some sort of
epiphany or something.
Alliance, some sort of for something.
Yeah, it was just weird. I would say the biggest thing that like was kind of weird for me as far as our alliances go is it was basically 47v3. The Western forces were California and Texas, and then Florida Alliance was Florida. Yeah. They were just doing their own thing down in the basement of the United States. But then it was just 47 other states. I feel like, and I don't want to forecast or say like a civil war is ever going to happen again, but I feel like if it were to happen, it would be more split than that. I don't think it'd be so. And you're taking, I mean, the two biggest states in the continental U.S.
Right.
So like the numbers are there, but like at the same time, I still feel like 45 states on the continental U.S. being able to ally with each other would create some push.
They did show a map.
Yeah.
In like the very beginning of the movie, that was like
the middle states across the middle were kind of
out.
Yeah.
And then Texas, California were a specific color.
They were Western forces. Then Florida was a specific color.
Yeah.
I wonder if that like middle zone was like a, I don't know, in tag how you have base. I wonder if it was something like that.
Right.
There was no
Possibly
name on it. There was no name on it. Yeah. So I don't know, but again, really just nitpick things. Like there was nothing that was meh or bad that really stood out as far as the technical side of a movie or the story itself. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you have anything that you'd add in the meh.
Yeah, well, actually, I thought about putting this in the bad.
Okay.
But really, I mean, it's not as bad as I thought initially that it might be. There's a scene about the halfway point. I think it's right after the scene where they kill off the two journalists that
weren't American because they weren't American. Yeah,
right.
Two guys from China. Yeah.
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. Am I allowed to spoil?
Yeah, we have a whole spoiler on the whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during that scene, Jesse falls into a pile of bodies that they were getting ready to burn and then bury. It looked like.
Yeah.
As she makes her way out of that, they all get back into the car and are driving away. Once they get away, they're very shaken up, and Jessie starts to throw up.
Yeah. And
it was a side shot of her mouth.
Yeah.
And you could clearly see that they just had some sort of like hose.
Out on the side.
It didn't look like you could see the hose by any means, but it didn't look like she was actually throwing up.
For sure.
So that kind of put me off. I was like, come on, you could just do something.
The fact that I believe the window was open and she's just going in her lap.
Right.
That scene was kind of gross. Like, this whole movie, like, you see blood, guts, it's disturbing, but, like, that scene, you're like, come on, now you gotta sit in that. Yeah. Like, everybody's gotta smell it. You couldn't do everybody a favor. Like, I get it, you're in the moment, but no, that was an off-putting scene. I didn't catch the hose, but it was an off-putting scene for sure.
There's a beautiful scene that follows that.
With the fires?
With the fires,
Yeah, that is a gorgeous scene.
I can't remember the old...
Sammy?
Sammy, yes.
And he's kind of dying.
Sammy's dying in the car. He was shot, and that's kind of like his last vision is seeing these wildfires and the embers burning through the sky. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
The score during that part was excellent as well.
You never want to, like, obviously, you don't want to wish for wildfires, but I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen them that, like, whenever you see pictures of wildfires, like, out in California and everything, it's like, God, it's so dark and gray, and that looks disgusting, but, like, in that scene, I'm like, should I light a couple trees on fire? Like, no, obviously I'm not, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was beautiful, very well shot.
Yeah.
And, you get the bright oranges with the little mixing of blues and reds with the fire and the embers. And that was a gorgeous...
Cannot stress how excellent the cinematography is in this movie.
This movie...
Not to beat a dead horse, but...
No, like, I always, like, Do you have anything for the bad before we start going back to the good almost?
Right. Honestly...
I don't really... Nothing was bad.
I do. I think... It really, this is a meh as well. I don't think I have anything bad for this movie.
Yeah.
I thought the last maybe 20 minutes felt like, I feel like it could have gone on for longer. In my opinion, I think they could have...
Like when they're storming the White House.
I think there could have been another 20
I wish we got a little more with the president.
I agree. But at the same time, I think that was excellent the way they ended it. Yeah. That's all I need. Yeah. And then they fucking kill him.
And then the picture of them all smiling around his dead body.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that for sure as far as the end. Maybe a little more explanation too what's going on with Lee. Like, she's having like a panic attack almost. And I wish maybe just a little bit of dialogue that says like, you good or something.
Right.
So we get a little something. And this is where you really see Jesse's character flip too.
Yeah.
Into... almost a monster.
Yeah, well, I think it was a sort of passing of the torch. I think that that Jessie finally came into her own, and
she got a picture of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She got the big catch.
Yeah, that, and she got a picture of Lee passing too.
Yeah.
So
Lee, I think that Lee was probably just so worried about Jess. What have I done?
Yeah.
You know, I all of the shit that I've lived through just to get this 16-year-old girl into the same thing. And I think that Lee saving Jessie was like, sorry, I did this.
Yeah, for sure. Hopping over to final thoughts and ratings, we can continue our cinematography conversation here. What I was going to say is, I know it's obviously very, very early because we're 11 months away from award season. Technically, I guess January starts award season, but the Academy Awards. So we're like, 9 to 11 months from the awards. This will be on a lot of ballots for best cinematography.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like I can safely say that.
Yeah.
It may not be best picture. It may not be getting the best acting awards, but I can safely say that this will be on most award cards, best cinematography.
Absolutely.
Just to glaze it a little bit more, but it was beautiful. I mean, it's almost sickening to say that.
Yeah.
Because of the subject matter.
Right.
But it was very well shot, very well done, great direction. And Alex Garland, Ex Machina I loved. Man, woof. But he definitely got back in my good graces with this film.
Yeah.
I didn't love it, but it was a good movie. It was a good movie. So final thoughts and ratings. What would you like to leave off with this film, and what are you giving it out of 10?
I think that it's and I'm certain you'll hear this in every review of this film. I think it's a very timely piece, and really, I think at any time this would be a timely piece.
Yeah.
This is a movie that shows you how disgusting and depraved war is, and that it is useless.
Yeah.
No man should have to die for
nothing.
Anything, man.
Yeah.
I not to sound like a hippie or anything, but it just blows my mind that we just kill people over nothing.
Yeah.
Not only us, but the entire world.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
For sure.
I think maybe for the squeamish, this is probably not a good movie.
No.
But if you are a fan of war movies in general, I think you would need to go into this movie understanding that it's extremely neutral. It's not praising either side.
Going with an open mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I love it, but I think it's an excellent movie that people should see.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think that on the note of should see, it's almost a wake-up call. Like, what's the point in letting something like this happen if that's, in the cards? What can we do to avoid it? Not saying that it's going to happen, but
right.
I mean, there's signs, but definitely one that even if you're not a war movie fan, I think you can really enjoy.
Oh yeah.
Just the message in general, but for me, like you said, I didn't love it, but I liked it a good amount. I thought it was a great film. I wouldn't say great, but I would say pretty good. I'm gonna go 7.5 on it. Cool. So towards the top of this year, but I mean, it's powerful. It's heavy.
It's definitely the most impactful film that I've seen this year, and that's not really saying anything because I haven't seen a lot of movies that have come out this year, but it's in general.
This was my 21st new release of the year, and in a year filled with some tropey horror films, some sci-fi epics like Dune,
Much more impactful than
yeah. I mean, it's
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, right?
Much more impactful than that. But yeah, like I would definitely say like this probably has the biggest impact of any movie this year so far. Yeah. And it's still April. That's not to say something else isn't going to come our way, but
right.
I mean, when you look at what's coming out, what's going to have as much of a heavy subject matter as Civil War, realistically. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, this could be the toughest message we get, but something that, like, it wouldn't hurt to see.
It needs to be said. Yeah, definitely.
So, kudos to Alex Garland for making this.
Absolutely.
A24 for allowing him to make this. A24, everybody knows, in my opinion, is hit or miss for me. There's some I love, like The Iron Claw. Men was a very, very, very unfortunate flop for me. I feel like that was a flop for most people, but, I mean, there are some that flop for me that I'm not going to say because that's for another podcast. But this one hit. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
Well done. Technically and objectively, subjectively, it was good.
I heard that he was, during that South by Southwest interview, he was talking that he finished the script for this movie in early 2020.
Oh, wow. So like around COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that...
That's crazy that it took 4 years to come out, though. Right? That makes you think, like, as somebody that wants to make movies, you got to get the ball rolling, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But...
but to write it, you know,
yeah.
I'm certain he's been writing it for longer than...
Yeah. I think I saw he already has another movie in the works, too.
Wow.
So, I don't think we're too far away from seeing another Garland film. Not this year, but I think it's in the works for 25 or 26.
Yeah,
so.
I'd be interested in... I'll be honest, this, I think, is my first... the first thing I've seen him do. So
I would say check out Ex Machina if you get a chance. It's on Max. I'll give you my login if you need it. But, I mean, outside of Men, his resume speaks for itself. Yeah. I don't think he really... Outside of Men, I've enjoyed every movie of his that I've seen. So, but, yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up Civil War?
Yeah, I think we said everything that needed to be said, really.
Hell yeah. Well, that'll do it for Civil War. Russ, thank you for coming on, brother. Thanks for having me. I appreciate, again, everything you do for me. I appreciate you all for watching, checking this out. If you like what you're watching, check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. And again, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Russ. And we will talk to you all soon. Peace.